everyone. My name is Lonnie. I am Lady Braven of the Pride, and I am passionate about inspiring, encouraging, and empowering other people to be brave during a time of government corruption and medical fraud. Today, I have Sherry Roy from the Brave Courage During COVID on, and she and I are going to have a courageous conversation about healthy lifestyle choices and how to be more self-reliant and self-sufficient, exiting the 3D matrix of control. And to start off, I would like to read off Sherry's bio just to introduce her. Sherry Roy has looked at things differently than most for a very long time. As a graduate of University of Toronto, BA 1980, working with children and families in a globalist controlled setting had her frustrated on a regular basis. So she stepped outside the box and into a career of holistic health coaching. The Institute for Integration Nutrition in New York was her choice for education because it wasn't government controlled content. Sherry Roy aligned herself with the Juice Plus company as a family consumer since 1993 to help bridge nutritional gaps easily and affordably and to support others doing the same. Today, more than ever, growing our food is essential, and Sherry Roy, after years of Tower Garden growing, sees Juice Plus and Tower Gardens as an easy, affordable solution. This COVID-19 experience is like no other before, and has been enlightening for many and provides clarity and focus. The world is thinking differently. It is now time to step with intention into leading by example and teaching how to take better care of ourselves and our families without government rule. What constitutes true health and wellness, learning how to grow our own food, what to do with it, how to make our own daily products, how to make our own medicines, aligning with those like-minded. Sherry Roy is a believer that there are silver linings on the other side of this. Expose and dismantle with choices that are more in line with freedom. Yes, thank you very much for being here. Welcome. How are you doing today, Sherry?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much for the invitation, Lonnie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when you invited me to write that chapter because this has been our family story. I guess to start, it's, we need to understand there's a difference between health and wellness and disease sick care management. And it's our job to get educated about those differences. Right. It's our job to take that knowledge and apply it to our everyday life, and then to teach our children and our grandchildren. And let's face it, that might have been the way it was when I was a child, but those skills got missed over the years, and I believe it was intentionally. So the silver lining of all of this, look at how many of us have been brought together in disbelief of what we're living right now. I mean, this is Canada. We all have this vision. Right? Yeah. Well, because the vision, right under our nose in plain sight, but we had a vision, and the vision, might not have been real, but it's what we believed. And so for me now, it's like there's silver linings on the other side of this. My job was taken away from me. Well, I left in 2004 because I saw a different way to get children healthy other than using psychotropic drugging. Right. And let's face it, I mean, the disaster of the last couple of years, kids and teenagers may not be affected by this illness going around, but they certainly are by the mental health that's been created out of it. And it's important that we understand where mental health comes from, where health comes from, and understand that, you know, it's in our backyards when we understand where, you know, how the role that food plays.
Yeah.
For me, my family, you know, my kids are grown and I've got grandchildren now. And when my children were young, we raised chickens and eggs, and you know, that was the way, because it was how I afforded to feed 4 children,
Right.
you know, quality food. And you know, my only regret is getting out of it after they left. And you know, starting, I guess what I could say is the last couple of years has opened my eyes to what's really important in my life. And you know, like, I'm no longer I mean, I want to fight for the freedom to be able to travel, because that's the principle of it, but I really don't care if I do. Because I'm fine here. You know, I can travel in my own country. How much of Canada haven't I seen?
Right.
So
You know, I really resonate with your story, and it kind of reminds me of like my own mother, who's no longer with us, but my own mother made a lot of like healthy choices that have affected the rest of my life. Like, she introduced me to gardening. She introduced me to, you know, not just healthy living and healthy foods, but my mother chose not to vaccinate me as a child, or as I was growing up. I don't know about vaccinations when I was a baby. I don't know if she could get away with that, but as I was a child and in school, she chose not to vaccinate me, especially for like the flu or whatever, like things like that. And she really kind of introduced that concept of natural health choices, and not necessarily using any pharmaceuticals for everyday common cold situations. And I'm really grateful to her for introducing and getting me in alignment with that concept and mindset when I was younger. But your story reminds me of that as well. And I just want to read off a small portion of a part of your story. Your story is chapter number 8, Courage during COVID. And I want to read off a small portion of it here, just that I thought was really relevant. But I want people to go out and get this book, because this book is going to inspire and encourage and empower you to be brave and start taking action in defense of your own health and your own family, your own values, your own future, and your own freedom. So go get this book. This is chapter number 8. It's a brave story, and this is just a small portion of it. As a family counselor behavior specialist, I got to witness the psychotropic drugging of children, youth, and young adults under the guise of mental health, and the role our education system plays. This left me feeling like I was doing my job with my hands tied behind my back. Lifestyle and nutrition were not part of the mandate. If I wouldn't medicate my own children, how could I help these families? So I left my job and I went back to school at IIN, which is the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and became a certified holistic health coach, where I teach families how to make lifestyle changes. A year into I'm going to say the CV-19, you know what that means. And the evidence is more and more clear that this has absolutely nothing to do with a virus. Even more evidence that recently came out. This is the Great Reset, and it's far from what it appears to be. The more we learn, the worse it gets. The globalists want total control. Exactly. This is exactly what's happening. And you wrote this a year ago. There's so much that's happened since then. But from your perspective a year ago, as a holistic lifestyle coach, can you, without giving too much of the chapter away, can you give us a couple things that you would help people with in holistic lifestyle coaching, like my mother did?
Right. Yeah. So what I say to people is that I guide them to the information that will help them make informed decisions.
Right.
Because, as a family counselor, behavior specialist, I worked with a lot of children in the school system. And, like I'd say to families, children are mirrors of their environment. But a lot of times, parents don't want any reflection on what's in their lives. So we focus on what's going on in our children and our teenagers. And so, for me, it was always a matter of, like the health was the number one thing, but we weren't allowed to talk about that. And I know now that's by design.
Mm.
It is by design. I mean, look at how sick we have, the sickest generation. They did a study in 2004. I can't remember whether it's 2004 or 2014. It's a Dutch study that showed that young adults are aging 15 years faster than their parents and grandparents. Why? Because the food terrain's different, right? Growing an apple today isn't the same nutritional value of the apple that I took off my father's farm I was born in 1958. We didn't use pesticides, herbicides. We weren't fighting chemical companies who were so into poisoning us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether I can say that, sorry, but that's what's happening. And it's right under our nose and it's in plain sight. So what I do is I guide people to the information. And the thing that for me is that I've learned over the years is that a lot of people want you to fix it for them. And I don't have that power. I have the power to share my knowledge, and that's what I want to do. And you know what I've learned? People say all the time, how do you get people to wake up? You don't.
Yeah.
You be an example, you walk a walk, you attract the people, and you're looking for the people that are on the fence that want to wake up. We spend way too much time trying to convince people who don't want to hear what we're sharing.
Yeah.
So, I use a 3-step rule, 3 strikes I've sent, and I always back everything I send up with evidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why I get banned a lot on, 30-day timeouts and stuff, because I back up what I share publicly with evidence. They don't want the fact checkers, they don't want that out there.
Yeah.
So what I say to people, and a lot of times, it's a matter of, and I'm so busy right now, I don't have time to sit down with every single person and watch these videos because I've watched them 100 times myself. So what I say to people, if I send you one thing a day, will you take the time to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
You watch it. It's like a chess match, right?
Mm-hmm.
I move, you move. But, my frustration, a lot of it is people don't want to do the work.
They don't want to do their own research.
Yeah. And and that's okay. Like I can guide you, but you got to do the work. I can't be, like I say to young people who are making decisions for babies these days, you have to I will share the information that led me to make the informed decision that I make. But you have to do that work too, because you can't say, because Sherry Roy says so.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to go over with your doctor. That's not going to go over if you end up in a hospital.
Right.
Things have changed. I walked away from that system. Well, it's been over 30 years for me because I did feel bullied back then. And look at it today. Way different. The push today is like a punch.
Right.
For me back then, I felt very confident to stand in my ground with the knowledge I had and stand up to these doctors. These are my children. That I've done my research, and I never lost my shit like they did. A lot of them had temper tantrums because they have egos, right? How dare you question? But I had to question it because people are not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look around, we can see where it's induced, we can see where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. And it's horrendous. So I really feel I was born for today because I was given this voice. I was given the ability to collect information over the last 40 years. Like what people are experiencing right now about being fired from their job, experienced that in 2004.
Mhm.
And you had to say, I had to say, okay, I'm going to have to redirect the way I create income,
Mhm.
which is what people are doing today. You know what I keep saying to people, because they hold on to city jobs, or, they're doing everything they can to that last minute. And, like I keep saying, stand your ground, stand your ground. Chances are you're going to get your job back, but do you really want it?
Yeah.
Question. And what I say to, yeah. And then I also say to these, especially some of these people are very skilled. If you're not attached to that entity that's trying to control your moves, it'll open up a world of people who want your services,
Mhm.
who aren't going to do that.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely. I feel like people are more aligning themselves. They're moving away from the jobs that they hate and they don't like, and they're just doing it for the money. And they're being called to step into more of passion projects and things that their soul is in alignment with. So they're
yeah,
moving more towards soul purpose work and moving away from that 3D system of slavery where you're doing something you don't necessarily want to do, but you need the money to put food on your table. That is
yeah,
a system of slavery. And
it
we're
is.
going to be moving into a new paradigm where people are never going to have to do anything that they don't want to do again for money.
Mhm,
And with my background, I come from TV and film, and I know exactly what people will do for money. I mean, I threw
mhm,
myself on the ground for 20 years and downstairs and off buildings and crashed
mhm,
cars for money.
mhm,
Not to say I didn't absolutely love my job, but I am very aware of the dark side of Hollywood and all of that. But
mhm.
yeah, you know what, Sherry, thank you for everything that you're doing and for being so brave and standing up and speaking out for the health of your children, but then also helping everyone else find
Yeah,
the information. You're a very, very good researcher, and you have a wealth of knowledge and that you can share with people. But I've always believed that if people are committed to their narrative, there is nothing that you can tell them. If it's not in alignment with their own beliefs and it doesn't validate the way that they've been behaving and what they've been doing, and if it doesn't validate their concept of the truth, then they can't hear it.
yes,
So you said you have a 3-strike rule. If you send somebody
yeah.
information 3 times and they don't resonate or respond to it, then you just stop.
Well,
That's
I just leave it. I just leave it. So I'll be intentional. And then, because the other thing too is I meet a lot of people online that I've never met before because I post publicly.
Mhm.
Like I I go on Justin Trudeau's Facebook page and I post evidence there. And it's interesting because people always say, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Tell me more." And and that's where I'm at. So one of the things that I did over the last couple of years was, there's so many freedom warriors out there, and I love them all, and we have all the great messages, and there's such great groups. But I needed to figure out where to align myself, because you know what, this is a full-time job, and it's activism, so you're doing it for free, and yet most of us still have mortgages or rents to pay, and so it's finding that balance. So I decided to align myself with Action for Canada, and I love the tools. And I took on North Okanagan. Well, I took on Armstrong to begin with, and that expanded to North Okanagan Shuswap. And then the next thing I knew, I was heading it up for interior of BC, which has been going great, because where my strengths are is that I can communicate with people, and I can build relationships, and I can share information. And so what we're doing with Action for Canada is building these tribes across Canada so we can help educate Canadians to our constitutional rights. We don't have to beg for anything. We have rights, and we need to be strong in our understanding. And so where I'm at right now is I go to the community meetings. I'm at a rally every weekend. I'm there with an Action for Canada booth and paperwork. We teach people about their constitutional rights, about the Bill of Rights, about how to serve a notice of liability. You know, what's so interesting about it is over the year, as we've been doing it, we're seeing more and more success. And when people have small successes, then they become braver, and that's like a spiral up effect. And so our communities around here, I'm sorry, I get goosebumps about thinking about it, because I've been, you know, we did Kelowna and then Vernon and Enderby. We've had a couple of rallies there. Then I was in 𝐤𝐸𝐬𝐴, Sorrento, and then I get invited to community meetings. So then I'm meeting nurses and chiropractors and people who are facing what's going on, but don't have the tools that I have to offer them. And I'm meeting these people, educating them about the tools. They're educating themselves. We're saying, let's lock arms, because there's strength in numbers. For example, you know, the masks are lifted, yet people are still wearing them. Right. And then we had a rally in Sorrento, and I don't know whether you can see this, if it's backwards or not, but Sorrento had a job fair. What's highlighted there? It says masks and proof of vaccination required for entry.
What?
And right. And so I said at the rally, we're going to find out who the board of directors are on both the Shuswap Economic Development Society and the South Shuswap Chamber of Commerce. And we're going to serve the board of directors with notices of liability. And it's interesting. I was telling that story at a community meeting on Wednesday, and this lady came up before I left, and she said, "Can I get your number?" So I gave it to her. And the next day she sent me a message, and she asked me for information. So I send her, you know, BC Human Rights. I send her a lot of Rocco Galati's constitutional rights website, because I say to people, if you go to his website and listen to what he says, you'll learn the verbiage. You'll learn how to talk to your employer. And so
hold on one second. I just want to ask a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned the BC Human Rights. Didn't the commissioner just try and bring back a mask mandate?
Well, did she? I don't know. You know, you can't trust anything the media is doing right now. That just shows the desperation. The reality is we can exempt ourselves from wearing masks. I've never worn a mask. I'll never wear a mask. What our goal now with the mandates lifted is to get Canadians educated, that when in the fall, when they try to do this again, that they'll say no.
Right.
Have the tools.
What you're doing is so important, educating your communities and bringing like-minded people together. And like you said, there's so much strength in numbers. I think it's so important, and it's so courageous of you and what you're doing, because it's not easy. Any freedom fighter or truth seeker will know that when you stand out and you're speaking truth to power, or you're speaking counter-narrative content, in the face of public persecution and judgment, criticism, and losing family and friends, and in the face of all that, but you still have the strength and the courage to stand up and speak the truth, because you know how important it is. That is a courageous act. I thank you very much. And I'm sure your entire community thanks you very much as well. I also wanted to talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
I also wanted to talk about, so there are currently 3 books right now. Courage During COVID, there is Speaking Truth to Power, and there is Ascending Human Consciousness. Every one of these books are activating a different chakra and helping you to find your voice, helping you to call upon your courage to take action, and helping you to wake up so you can see things clearly. And the 4th book that I just wanted to touch on right now is called The Brave, Manifesting New Earth. And it's meant to activate our crown chakra, our connection to the divine, our ability to visualize and manifest the future that we all want and deserve. And a lot of that has to do with a new paradigm for the health system, a new way of disconnecting from the systems of control, the government systems, the 3D systems, the 3D matrix, and becoming more self-reliant and self-sufficient.
True.
And I don't know, I think it was in November of this year, I connected with you and I ended up buying one of your tower gardens.
Right.
And I want to briefly talk about that and why this whole concept of growing our own food in my kitchen at home and being more self-reliant and self-sufficient, why this is so important. Okay, so you aligned yourself with Juice Plus and the Tower Gardens. And how has that been going for you? And how have you noticed a shift in maybe even your local community of people
Right.
becoming
Yeah.
more self-reliant and self-sufficient?
Right. And that is where it's at. So Tower Gardens came into my life 10 years ago. And, we still have a big garden outside that we do as well. But we did need to get back into gardening. As a family counselor in this community, I ran a young moms program for a number of years. And, you find out that education is missing for a few generations there. I had a grandma that taught me how to grow food. I had a mother and a father that did as well. But there's a few generations from me to, my grandkids where that got missed for a lot of people. And so the skills aren't there. They don't even know how to recognize some of the vegetables or what to do with them. And that's the thing. We have conditioned their palate to eat junk.
Right. And why haven't
You
we
know,
been teaching kids how to grow food in school? Like this is one of the
yeah,
most important life skills. Why are they
yeah,
not being taught this?
yeah. And this is important to understand. There is no junk food. There's food and there's junk. And you look at what young people are growing up on today, it's junk and they're sick. The 80-20 rule, right? If you're eating 80% of your diet is good nutrition growing, and you'll never get it better than growing it in your own kitchen. It's like having a farmer's market, and the nutritional value of that, vine ripeness, that's where the nutritional value of our fruits and vegetables is informed in the last 48 hours on the vine. But we don't keep anything on the vine that late. It goes to market green, and those nutrients never do form. So these are things that we need to understand. We need to get back to growing vine ripen. That's part of the reason why we need to be growing in our own kitchens. And for me, working with kids all these years and mental health, I was involved with a holistic mental health center at one point where we had pods of 4 people, and it was addiction. It was a addiction recovery center. And we were going to use tower gardens. You know how sometimes you use pets or birds? We were going to use tower gardens as a focus to teach them how to grow this food and then what to do with it. And they'd go home from this rehab of being there how long with these skills, because that's where we need to focus. And it's intentionally left out because they want people sick. There's money in people being sick. There's control in people being sick. And the reality is, this has been our life. This has been our life right under our nose. And now we have an opportunity to change that. Tower gardens make it easy and affordable for people to grow anywhere. And you can grow anything in a tower garden that grows above the ground. So all your herbs, your medicines, that's the other thing too. Like I'm making medicines. I'm making anxiety plant medicine. And, and I'm getting customers. And guess what? I'm bartering. Like I can trade my plant medicines for facials or massages and
I
our
love
community.
that.
I know, right? And this is what we're doing at our community meetings. We get to know each other and we get to know what skills each person has. Then we can be of service to one another as we need them.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know what, this is what we're growing, and this is exactly the opposite of what the government wants.
Mhm.
And this is the blessing of BC. We have a lot of places where growing food is all around us. We just need to find out, we look at it and we realize that those are our priorities in life. Learning, and then teaching these skills. Like, I'm so excited to teach my 3-year-old grandson, to be out there in the garden right beside me. My daughter's the same way. And and she's having an effect on her friends who are all homeschooling their children, because they won't be putting them in the system. And it's interesting because Sarah calls me all the time. She's 34, and she'll meet somebody like you, Lanny, and say, Mom, I met somebody else who is vaccine free too. Or, people that aren't vaccinating their children. And that's the other blessing, right? We only saw one story here, but it's the whole V story is this story. So, people need to get educated, and like, I have tools that I share. If people want to engage in the information that I'm sharing, I'm more than happy to help people get educated, because the more people that get educated and step into this lifestyle, we're at a fork in the road. We can walk away from what they are offering us, and I did it over 30 years ago. And so that's where I'm about, is walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Sherry, can you, for the people who don't know what a tower garden is, can you please briefly just describe what it is and why it's so handy to have in your own kitchen or yard? Or
Right. So it's an aeroponic growing system that grows vertically. It has a timer. Mine are set on 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off. And I grow with lights indoor. So I have 2 growing seasons. Pretty soon I'm moving outside on my deck, and I'll grow spring, summer, fall, right until Thanksgiving outside on my deck. And then I'll be, canning my tomatoes and freezing my vegetables and all of that kind of stuff. I have my other garden that I'll be busy in as well. But the tower gardens, I have 7 of them, and I'm going to have them all growing. You can grow flowers in them. You can grow herbs in them. Last year I had a tower garden that was straight strawberries. So I have a customer that also, I sold him a tower garden recently, and he just absolutely loved it. And he grew everything. And it's interesting because now I go to a rally on Saturday, and it's always Sherry. And I always know when he's going, Sherry's got something, some people call you, they want to show you their dogs or their children. It's people saying, I want to show you my tower garden. It's not the growing of the food, it's the taste of it. It's the smell of a vine ripened tomato or a vine ripened strawberry. You notice how we don't smell them in the grocery store anymore. And so when we get back to eating that kind of quality food, then that's what our body craves. And that's where the healing, we can heal anything that ails us if we stop putting the toxics in, and we feed ourselves the nutrition that we were meant to eat. And so, that's what I'm about, is teaching, especially the next generation, behaviors. You cannot deal with the behaviors of children today if you don't address the junk that's going in. It's junk in and junk out.
Right. And if you just put them in front of a PlayStation or a TV every time, that you don't have time for them. Back to my tower garden. I love my tower garden. It has already gone through a whole growing cycle. So I have new babies starting already. But every day I've been having salads, I've been having kale, I've been playing around with my arugula, all my different lettuces. I've also
Yeah.
got all of my herbs growing in my kitchen, but on my tower garden, I'm just focusing on all of the different lettuces and the greens because what I found is that I couldn't keep up. I had to eat. I had to keep on. I was giving greens away because it was
Right.
growing so much was growing that I
Yeah.
wanted to give my friends all my greens. And if I have too many greens, then I just throw them in a blender, and
Right.
then with a couple of blueberries or whatever, and
Yep.
then I have my green smoothie. So
Yep.
every day I've been eating greens, I've been eating salads, I've been eating
Yep.
smoothies. It's pretty healthy. I'm really, really happy with my choice to grow a tower garden in my kitchen.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad that you did too. And I mean, I'm thrilled with it, and it's easy.
Mhm.
Right? It's easy. It's easy. And one of the things about our company, there's a couple of things. We put tower gardens in every boys and girls club in North America. There was 4,000 of them by donation. And all the schools have grant programs like for their science and or whatever, and they can use tower gardens in the school to get kids growing, because you know what? When children grow, they're more apt to eat it if they have hands in it. And this is easy. You know, you're not dealing with dirt, you're not dealing with pests, you're just dealing with growth that
Mhm.
gets exponential after a while.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and
Mhm.
it's thrilling, you know, for me. um it is the next thing. I mean, one of the things where I'm at, we've been a couple of years into this. So I'm a believer in the 80-20 rule, right? So 20% on the problem, 80% on the solution. So it's things like I've got a friend by the name of Sarah Bradshaw. She's known as Wise Woman Seed or Garden Like a Guru around here. So her and I are doing a gardening class at my house, and
Hmm.
we'll be teaching tower garden growing as well as other things. But where Sarah's an expert, like I live on a property, my house was built in 1915, and Sarah walks around this property and just points out all the medicine. That's medicine, I haven't a clue. I wish I had that skill. You know, if I did anything different in my younger days, I would get more horticulture education than I would have like social work, psychology. Although that was a part of my life, it was where I was meant to spend my time. I understand the growing of food and stuff is really a big part of my life.
Mhm.
Hence the going back to school and going to IIN
Mhm.
and more of that. You know what? I think differently now in the last couple of years. You know, I'm not a big believer in these degrees and what has it given you and all of that kind of thing. Because the reality is, the money I spent in university, that's not creating income for me,
Mhm.
but it led me to where I'm creating income.
Mhm.
And it's all part of my life, right? So I don't regret it. I'm just saying I look at education differently today, and I
Right.
do pick and choose. You know, it was important for me when I picked IIN because, you know, I got suspended with pay twice before I finally left my job. And you know what? Suspension with pay is a holiday. That's what the government does when they slap you. But I was wounded because my job was important to me. I was helping families, and I got penalized for doing my job. And I finally realized, you know, you get punched enough and you go, you don't belong here. And we sometimes fight holding on to these careers because of a paycheck often, and instead of letting it go, and then when you let it go, the opportunities that you're meant to take, like that fork in the road that we're at now, gives us so many opportunities, and it brings the people into our lives that we're meant to meet. I'm meeting the most amazing people in the last year, just putting myself out there at rallies and, you know, saying to people, you lost your job, you can't get EI. that's not right. I've got tools that can help you with that.
Mhm.
And they're so appreciative. I'm not doing it for you. I will guide you to the information so that you can get educated and make informed decisions. And
Right.
I think that we're all tied into the same thing. So where we're at now is we've spent a year of being out there, being visible, you know, holding my sign that says stand up for freedom. I never know why I get a finger when I've got a sign that says stand up for freedom,
Yeah.
right?
My mind
And
too. I don't
so
understand.
I don't get the mindset of it, but I know the other thing too that Action for Canada has helped me with is, you know, knowing that we need a code of conduct when we're out there because they want to destroy us. It's easy for them to antagonize us and try to coerce us into this. And, you know, I think having tools that work give us power in our just breathe, take a breath, and love people
Yeah.
because that's the example the world needs right now. So right now where I'm at is we've done a lot of activism. I'm always out, I'm out there every weekend and I will continue to be out there to spread the word. People know who I am because of Action for Canada. And they're looking for solutions. So out of that, I'm building relationships and those are my Tower Garden customers.
Right.
It, and it's, you know, part of that is just because I'm allowing that energy to flow
Right.
instead of trying to, you know, swim against it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that when you stand in your own power with your own conviction and your own passion, and you're doing what you feel like you've been called here to do, which you very clearly are doing what you've been called here to do. I believe that when you step into that personal power, you just start attracting towards you everybody that is in
Yep.
alignment with the same values and the same goals.
Yep.
And this is how we
Yep.
build like-minded community. I also call it uniting the lions because
Yes.
it takes a lot of courage to be authentic and stand in our
Yep.
power with integrity and show up
Yep.
in the world the way that you and I and everybody else
Yep.
are showing up.
Yep.
And I want to say thank you again. And I also want to say for everybody that's interested in connecting with you, because there's going to be a lot of people that really resonate with every word that you talk about with regards to developing healthy, holistic habits and lifestyle changes for families. So anybody that wants to connect with you with regards to that in the freedom movement or the Juice Plus and the Tower Gardens and learning more about gardening, how do they get a hold of you?
Okay, a couple of ways. Sherry Lee Roy, so it's SHERRYLEEROY at protonmail.com, or my cell 250-308-9488. And text messaging is really the best way to reach me. And just, you know, leave me a message of where you've seen me and then I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
So
and
you know, go ahead. I wanted to just say before I forget, you know, Dr. Robert Malone, and you talk about the lions, and he said, I heard him say the other day, the truth is like a lion. It doesn't need to be defended. Let it loose and it'll defend itself.
Yes. Yeah. I've heard that before.
And
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I'll put all of that contact information in the description of this video below for anybody that wants to connect with you. Is there anything else that you would like to say about being brave and courageous during this time and standing in your power and making more healthy choices when it comes to lifestyle and the food that we eat and the food that we grow? Is there anything that you'd like to leave the audience with?
I'd like to say that all of this is a blessing. So on the other side of this, we've got silver linings. We're at a fork in a road. we can easily see what hasn't been working, and we have an opportunity to build a world way better of what will work. And it's in our hands. It's up to we the people. And this is one of the things I say often at rallies and community meetings. We don't have a savior coming to save us. It's not going to be any lawyer. It's not going to be any judge. It's going to be we, the Canadian people. Yeah. And how we do that is by standing up to the tyranny, saying no to the measures, and living our lives and walking away. If we have to give up a job, there's a better job for us.
That's right.
We just need to not hold on to the corruption, and the blessings will reveal themselves. So we need to live in hope, step out of fear. And how you do that is by locking arms with other like-minded Canadians. There's a lot of us. And you know what? In the last couple of years of attending the events that I have, every time I go, there's more people. And at a community meeting the other day, we were talking about the blessing. We've outgrown my house. We've outgrown the next house. Now we're in a barn that we have room to grow. The great thing is people are coming back that have been to the meetings, and they're bringing new people with them. This is how we do change. And it's in our small communities. It's our small communities that will have an impact on our bigger communities. Right. So get out there, be brave, get educated so that you can speak in confidence, and love other Canadians, and, let them know you have their back. And then they want to be with us when they know that they're on the right side of history.
Right. And I noticed that you're wearing a Live Free sweatshirt. Yep. Is that one, Susan's?
Yep, it is.
Health Justice Tees?
Yep, it absolutely is. Thanks, Susan.
Yeah.
We missed you.
Okay, I couldn't agree with every single word that you've said more. Thank you very much for everything that you're doing, and for standing up and using your voice and speaking out for the children and for our future and freedoms. I just really appreciate everything you're doing and how you're showing up in the world.
Yeah, me too. I love you, Lanny. I mean, the blessing is it brought us together.
Yep.
We may not have met each other, but it's not been our life the last couple of years. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I'm very thankful as well. And I look forward to coming up there and visiting you guys sometime soon.
Yes, absolutely. Do it. Courage workshop.
Right. Yeah, I'd love that. All right, everybody, please like and share this video. Share it with somebody that needs a little bit of encouragement and empowerment, and somebody that needs some information about making healthy lifestyle choices and becoming more self-reliant and self-sufficient. And also subscribe to Lady Braven of the Pride on YouTube, because as we all know, we have these courageous conversations every single solitary day, and courage is contagious.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks.